Okay then guys, welcome to episode 9 already of Football Is, and that is what I want's tale of a groundhopper. I'm very excited today. I've got Joseph here from Groundhopping FC from YouTube. How you doing, buddy?
Hi mate, I'm doing fine, thank you.
How you been keeping with all this lockdown? You been staying safe?
Yeah, I've been staying safe, staying at home, obviously just following what the government is telling us and, trying to keep safe.
Missing the football?
Of course I'm missing the football, but obviously the Bundesliga's just returned. I'm a big fan of German football, so that's started to fill the void, but there's nothing like going to a live football match, so I can't wait for when that's possible.
Oh, I agree. I tell you what, the Bundesliga for me, it's been quite odd to see no fans in the stadium. You can hear every call, every shout that a German player makes, and it's so funny to hear them sort of bickering amongst each other when a pass goes astray. It's quite funny, isn't it, to see?
I mean, yeah, I was watching my team in Germany is Cologne, and there was the derby against Düsseldorf, and Uwe Rosler is the coach for Düsseldorf. And if you spoke any German, if you knew what German he was speaking, the things that he was screaming at his players, you wouldn't expect someone to scream at the players normally. Obviously, he wanted to get a bit of motivation in them. Clearly, it didn't work because obviously they dropped a 2-0 lead in the last few minutes of the game. But yeah, it is really weird to watch it. But I do love watching the Bundesliga. It is probably one of my favorite leagues to watch in Europe, other than the Premier League, arguably. Yeah.
I agree, and do you know what? I've never really watched the German league, I'll be honest. So I've sort of been coming at it from afresh. It's a really strong league, and there's some really good players there. I've watched a couple of games, but the one that stood out was Schalke against Düsseldorf. Schalke 1-0 up, seemingly coasting, and then a mistake by the goalkeeper lets them in 1-1 from a free kick, and then Düsseldorf go and win 2-1. I was like, that's incredible. It's a really good game, so I'm really enjoying it. Yeah, really enjoying the games, to be fair.
Yeah, I've been watching the Bundesliga for quite a few years now. I think regularly since like 2011. So I've seen how the teams have progressed in the league. I mean, Schalke, obviously, as you say, they dropped the lead against Düsseldorf, but Schalke haven't been playing well recently. But I've been to a lot of German football. I've been to quite a few of the grounds in the Bundesliga, and I really enjoy my trips to Germany. And like, if you haven't been, I do recommend heading there because the fans are great. The tickets are usually much cheaper than English football, and like the culture is so much more old fashioned than England. Like, it's more where the fans are involved in the game rather than being customers. The fans actually mean something to the clubs, unlike most of the clubs in this country.
I agree with that. There's such a disconnect to some clubs, isn't there, in England as opposed to fans with other clubs across the world, not just Germany. I really want to go watch a German game. I'd love to go to Dortmund. I think the atmosphere there. Have you been to Dortmund?
I've not been to Dortmund yet, but that is one of the grounds I'd like to go to. But it's obviously, see, they've got such a huge member base there. It's really hard to get tickets for. I mean, like, some clubs surprise you with the amount of fans that they have. Like, you think, like Schalke is the second biggest club in Germany, I believe, in terms of numbers, of members. And then the fourth biggest team, is Cologne, the team obviously I like. And it's really hard to get tickets there. So I've been to Cologne myself, and it took us hours to wait for the tickets because we had to wait outside the stadium because they sold out in 5 minutes for a second division game and 50,000 people against Hamburg. It was such a strange experience. That's one reason I really like to watch Cologne in the Bundesliga because of that.
Did Podolski play for Cologne?
Yeah, Podolski's quite the cult hero at Cologne. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought he was. I thought I recognised. I think, didn't he go from Cologne to Bayern Munich?
I'm pretty sure he did. Yeah. So they still hold him in like really high regard because he's local and they do have a passion for local players. In Cologne, they tend to like. The emotion of the football in Cologne is very, very strong. For example, like there's such an up and down. There's such an up and down club. It means that the fans are always like sometimes there's the Europa League, but other times they get relegated to the second league, like 5 times this century. So
really,
it is really up and down. To be fair.
And so I just want to touch on your Groundhopping FC YouTube channel. I actually come across your channel, believe it or not, about 8 months ago when I was just starting up myself, and I thought, oh, I'll just check, what people are up to on there, and I really enjoyed it. You've been to Shrewsbury Town, I think, haven't you?
Yeah, I went in the FA
That's my
Cup.
hometown. That's my hometown, Shrewsbury Town.
Yeah, I went in the FA Cup against Bradford City, and sitting there, I didn't feel particularly well. I was ill on the weekend, so I was dressed in like many coats, many layers. I was thinking, I don't think these guys will go far in the FA Cup. But then to go and play my team, Liverpool, was like such a great achievement for them. I mean, fair play to them. They got that far.
It's I tell you what's funny is Salah. Salah does not have a very good record at Shrewsbury Town. I watched him when he played for Chelsea against Town in I think it was the FA Cup, or it might have been the League Cup. And I remember he had a shot and it went out for a throw-in. And then you watch how Salah is now. He's this world-class player, and you just think, where was that player when I watched him that night? But you've been all over the place with Groundhopping FC. Where does it come from? Was it just an idea you had as a hobby, or?
Well, basically, I've been watching local football for quite a while, and I was watching like a team called Maidenhead United. But one season, I was just dabbling into, when I was properly getting into football, I was like dabbling into watching other non-league grounds. And I mean, my first ever game was actually at Russian and Diamonds. You've heard of them, right? They're an old team.
I've seen them this season actually against Stratford.
But the original
AFC.
Yeah, the original team, I went to their second to last home game at their old stadium. It was Neen Park.
Okay.
This team was like properly punching above its weight for most of its history. Then fell into bankruptcy, and obviously the club had to reform, and they lost their ground. The ground got completely demolished, which is a shame. But yeah, I saw them play Wrexham. They came back from 2-0 down, draw 2-1. Just from then, like, ground hopping to me has always seemed really cool, because as a Liverpool fan, it's really expensive to go to matches, and it's so hard to get tickets nowadays. I'm a fan of live football generally. I just love watching at any level, and it's so cool to highlight these other clubs which aren't usually covered by the mainstream media. Just bring my video camera, just take a few photos, take a few videos, and see how they react, because I do tend to get a positive reaction from most clubs, and I do think it helps when people do expose non-league football, like with videos, and do try and help promote the game, because with the FA's lack of funding at the level, it's important that the fans turn up, and we as content creators for non-league have to go and try and get people to go to their local games. That's really important, in my opinion.
Yeah. Do you feel I'm the same as you with that, bud? I didn't do anything with non-league before this season. I was always about, I'm a Shrewsbury Town fan, I'm a United fan. It was always Premier League I used to watch. And then I got into this with my friend Daz, and I just fell in love with non-league, fell in love with the grounds, fell in love with the fans, the players. You just how much hard work goes into each game. It hooks you, doesn't it? In fact, it's like Peter said in that episode you were talking about, the virus. You get the virus, don't you? You get the virus of non-league, and you do a really good job, mate. You do a really good job highlighting the games, and I really enjoy watching your content. And I will put a link in below for the video when this comes out. People do need to watch your videos and subscribe to your YouTube channel, because you're brilliant, mate. I really enjoy your content.
Cheers, mate. That means a lot. Thank you very much.
No, mate, you earned it. You do really well. So what would you say is the number of grounds you've been to? How many grounds would you say?
Well, I've done 209 grounds so far.
Oh my God, mate, 209 grounds.
Yeah, I was due to do about 75 grounds this season. Obviously, before COVID hit, my last game was at one of my local teams, Ascot United. But this summer was meant to be a huge summer for me and the channel. I was meant to go to 2 games in the Euros. I was meant to go to Croatia, Czech Republic, Glasgow, and I was meant to go to England, Czech Republic at Wembley, but obviously that's just put a halt to it for the meanwhile. But obviously that's coming next year. That's something to go for next year. But I'm trying to complete the 92 as well. So that's a big challenge on my channel. I was actually doing really well this season. I was visiting quite a few of the grounds until my pace stopped. I was due to visit Exeter City on the weekend that the EFL got postponed, and I was due to go to quite a few big grounds. I was due to go to Plymouth. I was thinking of going to Swansea. I was thinking of going to all these fairly far away grounds. but obviously the postponement in football has just put a stop to that. But yeah, I've done 209, mostly non-league though. To be
That's
fair,
brilliant,
mostly
though, mate.
non-league.
Do you travel on your own to these games then? Do you go on your own?
Well, I tend to go with my dad to football, so
That's
he
brilliant.
doesn't usually appear on camera. But I think football. I have been to a few games on my own, to be honest, but I don't like going on my own because you have no one to share the experience with. So when I go with my dad to football, I think football really is fundamentally a father and son sport. Your dad takes you to the game. Your dad introduces you to you're meant to support. Most people support their dad's team. So obviously
Yeah.
my dad was a Liverpool fan. And, yeah, like he goes with me everywhere and it's really cool. I like to share the experience with him for sure.
That's brilliant. That's brilliant. You know what, you touch on that completely. You're completely right. It is a sport that you fall in love with, and that there's so many father and son duos that you see out there that do that. So the fact that your dad comes with you is brilliant, and I think I kind of agree with what you say about. It's a thing that you have to watch with someone to share that experience. I've been to so many games this season on my own without Dad as my co-host, and you watch the game and something will happen and you just want to turn to who you're with and say, "Oh, that was incredible," and you don't, and then you just sort of stood there on your own with the camera, not conversing with someone. But I really like that. It's great to hear that your dad comes with you to all the games. And is that abroad as well, to Germany, as where you go there?
Yeah, he's gone with me to Germany. Yeah, we've done like 9 grounds in Germany, from like really low leagues in Cologne, like these plastic pitches with no linesmen because it's that low in the divisions, to like top Bundesliga football. So we've been quite a few places together, I think. Yeah.
That's brilliant. I tell you what, I wish I could get my dad to take me to football. my dad, a funny story, right? My dad, when I started playing football for the school when I was younger, I went for trials and I got into the team. And when it come to our first game, I turned up to school with my football boots, and my PE teacher said, "Where are your shin pads?" And I said, "What?" He said, "Your shin pads. You need shin pads." I said, "I don't have any." He said, "Well, you got." So I rang my dad, and my dad went away to find shin pads. And my dad, bless him, knows nothing about football. He's not into it at all. And he turned up and he brought cricket pads.
Oh.
So I had to borrow shin pads off the referee in the end. But bless him, he thought, "Oh, well, they must be what you wear." I mean, they come up halfway up my knee. I mean, people can't see because they won't see the camera. But yeah, come up half my knee. I couldn't wear them. But with regards to grounds you've been to, what would you say your favourite ground is and why?
Well, I've been to quite a few like really, really cool grounds, for so many different reasons. Well, as a Liverpool fan, I really enjoyed my visit to Anfield earlier this season. I won tickets there for free as well, which
Brilliant.
added to the bonus. It was a game in the League Cup. We played Arsenal and it finished up being a 5-5 draw, winning on penalties. So that was actually a really good ground. But obviously I'm going to be biased by saying that's a really good ground. But I'd probably say my favorite ground, non-league and league included, in this country, I'd say one of my local teams, Windsor, have a really cool ground.
All right.
Stag Meadow, great ground. It's in the Windsor Great Park. It's such a cool surrounding with all the forestry and the trees, and traditional terracing as well around the pitch. It's like a proper football ground. And also, there's quite a few really cool grounds around where I live. Like also Maidenhead United, they have a pretty good ground as well. It's really traditional, the oldest continually used football ground in world football. They've been playing on that same pitch since 1871, I believe. So they've been playing there for ages.
1871, that's older than me, sadly.
Yeah, it's quite a historic ground. There's quite a few historic places, but yeah, I do tend to prefer traditional grounds rather than the new modern builds. I mean, I have nothing against modernity in football, but you can't beat the character that you see when you go to proper old school non-league matches. Like, yeah, sure.
Yeah. Do you know what? Something you've said there, and I found this with everyone I've spoken to, apart from Lee, whose episode's out today. He loves the new Wembley, but everyone says the same thing. Older grounds, the character there, you can't beat it. And it's so true, isn't it? I love old grounds, and I'm a United fan. I'm going to probably be mocked for saying this from my fellow United friends, but I love Anfield. Anfield's a beautiful stadium. It's the atmosphere there. You won't beat Anfield on a European night, will you? It's incredible. I've been to Anfield 3 or 4 times, I think, and every time I've walked away from there just in awe of the place. It's magical experience, isn't it?
Yeah, and they've also done a lot of renovations around the ground now, so it's a much more open place. You can now walk around the whole ground, and like with the new main stand, they put in a few trees and a few paths and a huge mega store that it used to be in the Cop, but now the Cop is like a bar. It's got a bar inside the Cop, but now the mega store is huge. I really enjoyed it, but obviously you can't be old school, traditional non-league football ground, in my opinion.
Definitely not, mate. I agree. What about your favourite player that you've watched live?
Well, my favourite player, that is a tricky one. I've seen Steven Gerrard a couple of times. My first ever Liverpool game was away to QPR,
All right.
at Loftus Road. Somehow we managed to get away tickets when it's nigh on impossible to do that, nowadays. But this was at the peak of our mediocrity. We were under Kenny Dalglish, went 2-0 up, I remember. And Sebastian Coates had, scored a bicycle kick, a scissor kick.
Yeah, I remember that.
And then we lost 3-2. And I've also seen him play, against West Ham. It was on my birthday, but then we drew 0-0 at Anfield, which is quite a poor game. But I've also seen, arguably the greatest player of all time, only in a preseason friendly. It was at Wembley. It was Liverpool v Barcelona. I saw Lionel Messi play.
Oh, yeah.
I was right up in the gods in Wembley, but I still got the chance to see him. And I really want to see him play in a competitive match because obviously a preseason friendly doesn't really do him enough credit. But yeah, that is really a dream of mine to see him play in a competitive match. So arguably either Steven Gerrard or Lionel Messi, I'd say.
Do you know what? With Messi, I've always been Ronaldo. Always have been, and I always will be. I love Ronaldo, but do you know what? My friend said to me a couple of weeks ago, he said, right, go on YouTube and type in 50 greatest Messi goals and tell me how you feel about him after that. Because I've never, I don't not rate him. I think he's godly, isn't he, with his talent. But I watched these 50 goals, and actually the goals he scored, the appreciation I had for him after watching, I thought, Jesus Christ, this guy's incredible. The stuff he can do with a ball, and it's going to be a shame when he retires. I feel Barcelona. I mean, Charlie, a chap I had on not so long ago, said, Barcelona will go on, but Barcelona, once he retires, will not be the same again. They'll never be the same again. He's once in a lifetime player, isn't he?
He is, for sure. And I mean, there's always the raging debate between Ronaldo and Messi, and there's always huge tribalism to do with it. You tend to support one because the club they play for or something, but in my opinion, we have to appreciate both of them while they're still playing. Because at the end of the day, in the next, say, 3 or 4 years, both of them might not be playing, and we might think, oh, we didn't appreciate this, we didn't appreciate Ronaldo or Messi because we supported, say, Barcelona or Real Madrid, and we didn't fully appreciate them because they didn't play for our team. But in reality, they play really well, and they redefined the game of football.
I agree.
Obviously, Ronaldo's a great goal scorer in the Champions League, especially. Yeah. But Messi, when he gets the ball at his feet, he can do anything with the ball. I mean, that's what defines these two players as the greatest of all time.
Yeah.
And there's no players coming up now at the moment which I think will even come close to them.
You're so right with that. I mean, and actually, I've said this before. I agree with you in the sense that we should just appreciate that we're watching these two players battle in their prime. For the last 10, 15 years, it's been so good to see. But I also agree. I can't see a player out there that's going to be as good as them. Mbappe is quite a player, but he's not Ronaldo. He's not Messi. Marcus Rashford, Salah, Mane, they're not the special players. Ronaldo and Messi can create something out of nothing. They can have their backs to the wall and they can just create something out of nothing. And that's what defines the player, from being a great player to a world-class player, and the consistency they both show season in, season out. Ronaldo, 35, still scoring goals like he does. Messi doesn't look like he's lost a yard of pace yet. And how old is he? 32? Is he 32, 31, 32?
Yeah, around that age, I believe, yeah.
No, so I agree with you. They're two special players. I've kind of touched on this before. We spoke about it. What's the longest distance that you've travelled for a game then, would you say?
Well, that depends, because sometimes I travel, obviously, sometimes you go on holiday, but the primary reason you go on holiday is not to watch football, is to go on holiday. So I'd say the farthest distance from where I live for like, including a holiday, I watched a match in the Philippines, in fact.
Wow.
I watched a team called, Ceres Negros, who are the champions of the Philippines, and it was in like the Asian version of the Europa League. It's called the AFC Cup.
Really?
And they have like a zonal final. Because Asia's such a huge continent, they divide the tournament into like regions before it gets into like international teams. So
Okay.
I saw them play a team from Singapore called Home United, and it was the second leg. And the weirdest thing about this was in the Philippines, they don't really have a culture of football there. So there's not many fans of football in the Philippines other than the city where I watched it in. So you're not going to get sold out stadiums. But the way that they got the stadium packed is that at the local huge shopping mall, they had a ticket distribution. So you turn up, they give you tickets to watch the game. You pick where you want to sit, and they just give you the tickets for free. And it was like incredible. And there were like 8,000 people there. It's such a cool game to watch, and they won 2-0 as well. So they were the first ever Filipino club to win the ASEAN final, which is like the Southeast Asian final of the AFC Cup. They ended up playing a team from Tajikistan, I believe.
Right.
They lost it because they were quite an inexperienced team. The Philippine team, they weren't experienced at that level yet. It was only like their second proper season of football. So it was a great achievement for them, and it was a great experience. Obviously, it was like really hot as well, and that's the farthest I've travelled for a football game for sure.
It's do you know what? And this is why I love doing this podcast, because I've spoke to people who've been to Brazil, to Russia, Canada, Australia, Japan, and now the Philippines. I don't think I've ever spoken to someone who's been to a game in the Philippines. So that's why we do this, mate, and it's good to hear those sorts of stories. What about the best fans that you've witnessed? Now, you did say off camera that this was going to be a surprising answer, so you've got me intrigued here, Joseph.
Well, I've watched, obviously, I'd say, in my opinion, the best fans are from Germany. That's just my opinion.
Yeah.
The ultra scene in Germany is so good. But the team that, in my opinion, has the best fans in Germany, and I've seen it myself, I've witnessed it myself, are not Cologne, who I support. It's actually Eintracht Frankfurt.
Okay.
They have an incredible set of fans. In terms of noise, I'd say Eintracht Frankfurt are definitely the best, because we sat just above their like main ultras stand, and they were bouncing the entire game. These two tiers of the ultra stand, they were bouncing the entire game. They lost to Ingolstadt, I believe 2-1 or 2-0, but yeah, they had some really, really good fans there. I mean, they were really vocal, but in terms of like following in Germany, I would say that Cologne are probably some of the best fans, because when they played Arsenal in the Europa League, they brought 20,000 fans to the Emirates.
Wow.
They sat in all of the home end. There in the home end, there were Cologne fans sitting there openly with colours on and jumping up and down, out singing the Arsenal fans.
That's great.
And I mean, the thing is, the culture in Germany is completely different, because in this country you can't sit in the home end as an away fan with your colours on. Otherwise, you'll either get kicked out or you'll get targeted by the other fans around you.
Right.
But in Germany, even for top games, I went to Cologne, Hamburg, and that was a first versus second in the second division. And there's so much pressure on Hamburg to get promoted. They didn't get promoted that season, but it was a huge game, and there were away fans sitting there openly with their colours out and with their scarves on. And Hamburg went and equalised to make it 1-1 in the match. And all these Hamburg fans sitting around us, they started standing up and celebrating. I was like so shocked. I've never seen that in English football, and that would never be possible in English football. That would be a stewarding problem, more than likely. So yeah, I do think that the best fans generally come from Germany, but I would say in terms of how loud they were, I'd say that Eintracht Frankfurt are the best fans.
That's brilliant to hear. And you know what? I've not experienced fans from another country yet. It's something I really want to do. And when I hear these stories like yourself mentioning German fans, I've heard about Japanese fans, Canadian fans. It sort of gets me jealous. I want to go over and experience these fans and see how they react to things. And also, I think that's something you touched on there that is correct, is that you can't mix fans in England. I think the only place you can do it is Fulham. I think Fulham have got a neutral section, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, they do.
Which, yeah.
One of the goals,
yeah, and I think, to be honest, I think the Fulham fans take that up, don't they, when they go there? But it's a shame that you don't see fans from each club mixing. It's a shame that they can't do that and enjoy the game. You know, these guys who fall out with each other whenever England play, they're on the same team. So I just can't understand why they can't sit and watch a game of football together. So I agree with what you're saying with that. It's annoying to be honest. But with regards to, we said this off camera, and the answer you give me off camera is a really good answer, and I'm really looking forward to sort of you sharing this answer. What's the worst thing you've witnessed on your travels?
Well, when I go ground hopping to a different ground, like the thing is, when you're an away fan who supports a team and you go to a different ground, you tend to find the negatives in the ground. You tend to compare it to your own thing. Oh, the away end's terrible. Oh, the ground's terrible. The fans are terrible. The atmosphere is terrible. And you all think that because you're looking at it through a closed perspective. Whereas if you're a groundhopper like myself, you go there for the match day experience. You go there for a match day experience, and like you see that see these grounds, you see the fans, you try the food there. I love to try burgers at non-league grounds.
Yeah.
I do tend to rate them on my channel, but the only one requirement I tend to ask of a match in my head is not to be a 0-0, because I hate watching 0-0s. I mean, as long as there's a goal for any team, I'm satisfied. As long as I tick it off and get a good video done and uploaded, and yeah, I don't have many requirements to watch a football match. I don't tend to find negatives from football matches. I tend to look at all of the experiences with a positive mindset.
Yeah.
Because if you go in there with a negative mindset, you're not going to enjoy the game as much as you would if you went in with an open and positive mindset.
It's such a refreshing way to look at things, Joseph. And I wish, maybe I'm quite blinded by looking at bad situations at clubs and almost allowing that to sort of influence me ever going back there again. When perhaps you're right. I think to perhaps go to grounds with the mindset, I'm here to watch the football, I'm here to enjoy the football. That's what I'm here for. Forget about the rest of it. I think it's a really good outlook to have on football itself. Far too many times in football now there's such negativity involved with it, whether it be racism, whether it be crowd trouble, whether it be players being abused on the pitch, people running on the pitch. I think we sort of perhaps need to sort of look at this game for what it is. It's a group of 22 people on a field, kicking the ball around and hopefully getting the goals for your team. It's the way it should be, and I agree with you, mate. And I think it's nice to have an answer where there isn't an answer of, oh, I saw a guy get punched, I saw crowds go mad. So I appreciate that, mate. I really enjoyed that answer. With regards to, let's end it on a high. What's your funniest memory when you've been on your travels?
Oh, that's a tough one for sure. Although one funny memory that does stick out in my head is I went to in the first season that Forest Green were in the Football League.
Yeah.
I saw them play Morecambe at home.
Okay.
And one of the funniest things, I couldn't stop laughing at it. It was one of the players from Morecambe was inside the box, right? And he made a shot at goal, right? And it came off a defender, and the keeper caught it. And as the keeper caught it, when the keeper caught it, the Forest Green, the Morecambe player decided to scream handball when the goalkeeper picked up the ball. Everyone was in tears in the stand. They were all laughing really heavily, and the guy got a lot of stick for that for sure, obviously, to be fair. But yeah, that was one of the funniest memories of football I remember, for sure.
Didn't Suarez do that not so long ago as well? I think Suarez did that. The keeper saved the ball, and he straight away looked at the ref, touched his arm saying handball, and then quickly realised it was the keeper.
I wouldn't put it past Luis Suarez to do that, to be fair. He's very gamesmanship sort of player. He does anything to win the game, so
yeah.
I definitely wouldn't put it past him to do something like that.
It's a funny one with Suarez, because obviously we had the trouble with him in United, but one thing I will say about Luis Suarez is you'd have him on your team because he winds the opponents up, and with him on the team, you know that you're going to get some decisions your way. But one thing that I will say about him that I do respect is his passion. He is such a passionate player, and he gives 1,000,000%, doesn't he, every game? And it's good to see. So many players, I think, are guilty nowadays of not really putting the effort in as much. But he goes onto that field and he goes to war, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does for sure. He does anything for his team to win. I mean, it showed when Liverpool played Barcelona in the first leg of the Champions League semi-final last season. Obviously, he didn't really want to celebrate. He shouldn't have celebrated against Liverpool, but obviously the passion of getting the first goal in the Champions League, and it was, I believe, his first goal in the Champions League that season, if I'm right. And he celebrated so like passionately.
Yeah.
A lot of Liverpool fans got wound up by that, and he then went and said, "Oh, in the second leg, I promise I won't celebrate at Anfield." And look how that turned out. He kept to his word for sure. But yeah, he's a very good player. He had a great season when we just about came close to winning the title.
Yeah.
When we just about lost it to Man City. That's one of the greatest individual Premier League seasons, in my opinion, of all time. It's just discredited because he didn't win the league. But yeah, he's a great player, and you can always rely on him for goals for sure.
Yeah, it's do you know, I kind of felt sorry for Brendan Rodgers the season after that, because the season after that, Suarez went, Sturridge was injured a lot, and in that he lost 50, 60 goals, through goals and assists from two key players. They brought in Mario Balotelli, who is Mario Balotelli, isn't he? He's got talent, he's just not consistent, and he's just not interested, is he?
Yeah, I think he scored only one goal that entire season in the Premier League. It was against Tottenham Hotspur, I remember.
Yeah.
I remember everyone went mental about it because he actually finally scored. I remember who his striking partner was as well. It was Ricky Lambert.
Ricky Lambert.
He's trying to move to Liverpool.
What a player.
That was the time where every single signing, other than Balotelli, of course, seemed to come from Southampton. Yeah. And I mean, obviously we've had some really good signings for Southampton, looking at Virgil and Mane. But other than that, like, the players that we got in early from Southampton, Lovren, Lallana. But to be fair to Lallana, he's been a good servant to the club.
Yeah.
But he just hasn't found playing time. And of course, like Lambert as well. These players were like the epitome of the mediocrity after that title challenge. And I mean, I think it took a bit of rebuilding for when Suarez left. And obviously, inevitably, we've come out with Jurgen Klopp, and I wouldn't change that for the world, to be honest.
No.
I mean, Jurgen Klopp is such a lovable manager. I think at Dortmund he got the passion of the fans completely correct, and he was the perfect fit for when he joined Liverpool.
Yeah.
I mean, couldn't have asked for a better manager, to be honest. You can have your Pep Guardiola, you can say, oh, he's a tactical genius, but no manager in world football, in my opinion, gets the fans as excited as Jurgen Klopp. Obviously, in Liverpool, there's such a hunger for the league that's inevitably coming.
Yeah.
Obviously, the city hungers, the entire city hungers for it, for this title, and they really want to see this title come to Merseyside. But Jurgen Klopp just gets the feelings of the fans correct most of the time. I think he's a perfect fit for Liverpool.
He's the closest thing, I think, to be honest. He reminds me so much of Alex Ferguson in so many ways. His passion, the way he manages his players. His players will run through a brick wall for him. Something else he does that reminds me so much of Ferguson is he knows everybody involved at the club. He knows their families. He knows the lot of them, and taking the time to do those little things. The players want to work that bit harder for you, but you're going to win the league and you deserve it. I don't think if you'd have not won the league this season, if they'd have cancelled it, I think it would have been a disgrace. And that's me saying it through gritted teeth, Joseph, because I'm a United fan. But no, you deserved it. You deserved it last year. It was so unlucky last year, but you've got a guy there that I think if you keep Klopp, if you keep him for the long term, I think you're going to dominate for a very long time.
I hope we do, but there's little murmurs.
I don't.
There's little murmurs that he might take a sabbatical at the end of his contract, but we're trying to engage this guy in a contract. I don't know whether we've signed him or not, but I hope we can throw as much money as possible at this guy, because this guy deserves the wage, whatever wage FSG offer this guy, our owners. I mean, we should offer him because he's a great manager, and he's a cult hero for Anfield and for the wider population of Liverpool, in my opinion.
I agree, mate. I agree. I've really enjoyed you coming on, Joseph. Do you know what, mate? It's been really refreshing. The stories that you've told have been, what I love about it, they've been unique to what other people have said, and that's what we do this for. We want to hear Groundhopper's stories, and you're a great groundhopper. You've got the right attitude for groundhopping, and I sincerely hope that next season, whenever that may start, that our paths cross and we can share a conversation and a burger about the game we love. I'm going to, I'm going to say goodbye. And guys, as always, please be sure to follow the link that I'll be putting in the video below and check out Joseph's Groundhopping FC YouTube channel. It's brilliant. The games he goes to, the grounds he goes to are great. A real groundhopper in every sense of the word. Thanks for coming on, Joseph. Really appreciate it, buddy.
Cheers, mate. Thank you.
You take care. So there we have it, guys. Episode 9 of Tales of a Groundhopper done and dusted. Really, really enjoyed that conversation of football there with Joseph from Groundhopping FC. I think we'll all agree that he's a very charming individual. Really enjoyed the tales of Germany and of the Philippines and, of course, his non-league travels there. A bit of a shame he's a Liverpool fan, but we'll let him off with that. For information on how to get onto Joseph's Groundhopping FC YouTube channel, please follow the links below. As always, guys, please be sure to follow us on all forms of social media. Football is, and that is what I want, on Facebook, YouTube and Instagram, and then @FootballWant on Twitter. Please, guys, remember to stay safe, take care, be thinkers, not stinkers. Sayonara, au revoir.